And that's what's so exciting about the world that you're going into now. There's an old Chinese saying, and it's actually a Chinese curse. It says, "May you live in interesting times." And I don't think there's anything better, in fact, than living in interesting times. There's a global paradigm shift going on in the world right now, and you all are going to be part of it. And here's how you'll harness it. Forget everything you just learned over the last 4 years. Knowledge is a barrier to new discovery, Marshall McLuhan. Knowledge is a barrier to new discovery. I heard that when I was a junior at Princeton, and Marshall McLuhan, came to speak, and it made my head hurt when I heard it at the time. But what he's talking about is that to be innovative, to be creative, to achieve, you actually have to forget a lot of what you know. You have to forget the traditions and the cliches that you just spent 4 years learning. As Sam Goldwyn, the Hollywood mogul, said, "Enough of these old cliches, bring me some new ones." But he was right. You need to invent your own cliches. Now, right about now, I suspect you're saying to yourself, didn't he just say that knowledge was important? Isn't he contradicting himself? And you know what I say to that? A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. Emerson. And what that means is you have to be open to new ideas. You have to be able to change your mind. I did work with Nelson Mandela. I've continued to work with him. One of the things he always says, and by the way, he's changed his mind about everything in his life except one thing, the importance of freedom. He would say, when circumstances change, you change your mind. So basically, I'm telling you, be flexible and don't be afraid to change your mind. Now, I said at the beginning I'd give you some advice. And I've always liked advice myself, even if I mostly ignored it. My beloved father never gave me any advice in my whole life, which is probably a blessing, except one time. I remember when I was a boy, and we were at a gas station filling up, a fellow bent his ear with a bunch of opinions about something, and then he turned to me afterwards and he said, "Opinions are like," and then he mentioned the word for a universal piece of anatomy that we all have, and said, "Everybody's got one." The problem in our society right now, in fact, is that there's too many opinions. There's a surfeit of opinions, but all opinions are not created equal. You're entitled to your own opinions, but not your own facts. Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Too many people use their own facts to build opinions they think of as absolute truth. Let us all doubt a little of our own infallibility, Benjamin Franklin. Now, because I had a dearth of advice when I was growing up, when my 2 boys were born, who were sitting over there, I created a file on my computer called The Rules of Life. Now, I haven't told them the rules of life yet. In fact, I haven't discovered them all, and I'm still wandering. But today I'm going to give you a sneak preview of that list. A super shortened Cliff Notes edition of the Rules of Life. And here are 9 of them, because 9 is a more interesting number than 10. Ready? Do not follow your bliss. The classic commencement advice is follow your bliss, do what you love. I love to sing, but I can't carry a tune. Do what you're good at, and it will become your bliss. 2, take nothing personally. Most people spend all of their time thinking about themselves, and what they say to you or do to you is almost always about them. It's almost never about you. Take nothing personally. Everything is personal. I know that sounds like a contradiction. I resisted this idea for a long time. I believed in the beauty of abstract ideas, but you know what? Most people's ideas come out of their personal experience, as they will with you too. Number 4, it can happen to you. I know you're 21 and you feel absolutely invulnerable, but there's no special providence in the fall of a sparrow. People say everything happens for a reason. I have news for you. That's not true. Number 5, don't assume. Don't assume anything. Don't assume you know what someone else is thinking. Don't assume that something is going to turn out the way you think it will be, because then you will not be unpleasantly surprised. It's very hard to divine anyone else's motives. You really are listening. That's fantastic. I did this one already. When circumstances change your mind. Nelson Mandela's motto. In fact, what I've learned from working with him and interviewing leaders and presidents, for the last 25 years, is that in fact, most leaders are not ideologues. The greatest leaders are pragmatists. They do what's right because they think it's the best thing to do, and also because it's the most pragmatic thing to do. Number 7, which is stolen from Ben Franklin, what begins in anger ends in shame. The consequences of what you do in anger are almost always far worse than what caused that anger in the first place. Number 8, every act of kindness is an act of strength. Don't ever be afraid to do the generous thing. And finally, as you go out on your job interviews, here's my advice. Spring for that one expensive quality suit instead of buying the 2 ones that are on sale. It will serve you better in the long run, and as the tailor said, measure twice so you can cut once. That's wisdom. Thank you so much for your kindness today. Congratulations.